All right, we're back for the first time. Welcome to the What the FFF podcast. Here with Brendan.
G'day. Oh. Okay. What an awkward first intro to our first podcast. It was always bound to happen. As Moose said, the first episode of the WTFFF podcast. Hosted by myself, Brendan, the founder of Forever Forward Fitness, and we've got Michael, aka the Moose, founder of
Strength Community.
And the Moose Apparel, I guess we could say.
Yeah, a little bit of the Moose.
He's
Yeah.
repping that right as we speak for our video viewers.
New website will be up soon.
Ooh, that's in for the plug of the first episode. Nice.
First sponsor.
First sponsor, yeah. Sponsored by, exactly right. So, first episode. I guess what we were going to talk about, we're going to give ourselves a little bit of background about our stories, both of our businesses, our stories to health and fitness, and I think we'll do individual episodes on these because I think we've got pretty lengthy stories. I think we've got some good stories within the industry.
Yeah, and I guess very intertwined both, to a degree. We've both spent a lot of time together over the last, 7 years?
Yeah, there's been a lot of time together, so that's been good. It's really created an awesome relationship for us, and I don't think either of us would have guessed that when we started together in that situation back at Genesis that we'd be here with a business together now.
Nah. Funnily enough, I always thought my first podcast would be on your podcast.
Ah, right. There you go. Well, that's funny because it's our podcast.
Yeah.
But that's a nice touch. So I guess I'll introduce myself. So, Forever Forward Fitness is about to come up on its 9th birthday. So it would have been in January where the business would have been registered for 9 years, but the brand FFF on March 23. So I think we're just about a month off of the brand of Forever Forward. So when the logo and all that sort of cool stuff first launched, it'd be 9 years.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it is. Honestly, it is really, really crazy. Like at 27 now to think, far out, 9 years that's been going on for. So in that time, I spent 2 years contracting out of Genesis. That's where the humble journey began. So that's where Moose started as well. He did a Your New Beginning challenge, and that was the beginning of Moose changing his life, which we'll get into shortly. It was, I think it's such a good opportunity for us both, obviously, for one, to have a ripper testimonial underneath my coaching, and then, the things that it's changed for you, probably even more impressive.
Yeah, it's opened the doors for everything, really. Whole brand is basically based off that transition, so...
Yeah, 100%. And then, so from there, 2 years in Genesis, I quickly learnt that I guess I had a bit of a roof over my head there, so moved into my own little studio, which funnily enough is probably only a smidge bigger than currently the mezzanine above us, which is the upstairs area of the gym.
Might not even be.
Yeah, it might not even be. I think if you added the square metres of the office and the toilets would be bigger, but I don't think it's any wider.
Yeah, floor space wise.
The functional gym area is definitely no bigger. Which is really crazy to think the amount of people that I used to have in there. Now it's just a.
But I think that was a good part that created the environment too to start with. Like like we found when we moved down to Nick's, that the place is too big.
Yeah.
It's an absolute mission of a place to get across.
Yeah, exactly. There'd be nothing worse than you set up for a PT session and you realise you need something on the other side of the gym and you
bloody curvature of the earth, you can't see them.
Yeah. It definitely was a big change. And so I think from there, the studio was open for 3 years, and in the back of that, the end of that 3 years, I think it was definitely a bit of a pivot point, and you were involved, and so was Hayden in the conversations around what my move was. And I think at that point, my maturity, I think we wanted to go bigger, but then I also wasn't quite ready for the risk, and I think I wasn't probably looking after myself mentally, and we did decide to take the step back. We didn't go into opening a bigger gym. And that's where we went back and we both went to contracting, which I think was a good spot for you to be because there was not much pressure on you to begin with.
Absolutely, because realistically, without that period, moving down to Nick's, I think I only had 3 clients.
Yeah.
So that's a start. And thanks for Nick, because that was all he asked for was 20% of what I made, up until $1,000.
Yeah.
So top rent was $200, and I think I only ever paid that twice. So, and even when we moved here, I think I only had 10 clients when we moved here.
Yeah, no, it wasn't heaps.
Yeah.
I remember those discussions before that sort of all unfolded. So, and I think that time that we spent down in it, so we think that we were grateful for, was one of the things that happened in the world economy, that we won't use that C word, but also I think for me to, I guess, to recharge, to be ready to have that fire burning to open.
Honestly, that first C word when it happened, it was fucking great. Sorry for everybody else, but that gave me an opportunity to quit a full-time job and take on a part-time job, and then spend more hours in the gym. And that's after we come back from COVID, I was sitting in a pretty good place.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely a big silver lining to it in the way of that. Like, I think from my perspective is that I wasn't so extended with the rental position that it was going to cripple us, so that was great. And I think it was just a forced rest.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
I think that the time...
I'm not going to tell you what I did in the first one. You know, you were there.
Yeah. Not a lot. Not a lot to be spoken about anyway. So yeah, I think it did give us that position to rest. And then coming out of that, I do think there was that first sort of part where it was a bit shaky coming out of it. There was a lot of uncertainty around the rules. There was a lot of uncertainty about people still not wanting to come out just yet.
Some shit neighbours.
Yeah, that's also a challenging element, isn't it? And then from there, I think we were ready to sort of go into our own space, and that sort of puts us to where we were now. So, we're in a bigger space. It's not bigger than where we were renting, but it's
much better.
Much better. It's a well-suited size. It's much prettier.
Tidier.
Much tidier. I think
that place took like 6 hours to clean. It was an absolute nightmare.
It was a nightmare. And I think too, the temperature control in there was pretty horrendous.
Oh, I remember it was like July, and I could feel the heat coming from the roof. It was horrible. The only wind we got through was through the office window, and what was it, a 300 square metre shed?
Yeah, that's right. That used to be always the best spot. That was our office.
Yeah.
That was always the best spot.
There was nothing to the south, nothing to the west. It was just that big roller door, which absolutely no breeze came through, and just that window to the south.
Yeah.
All right, we're back. Small little technical issue.
Yeah, first time glitches. But I think it's time Moose talks a little bit about his business and the incredible thing he's done in the short amount of time.
Well, I guess everyone that's going to listen to this to start with knows my business name, Strength Community. So previously to being in this industry, I worked in security. To be fair, I didn't dislike that job, but I knew it was something that I didn't want to do long term. I'd already been doing it for 13 years, and quite frankly, 13 years of night shift was enough. So I always, even when I was younger, I always wanted to work in youth work. But I realised in my 20s that there was no way that I could have good influence on younger people because I wasn't looking after myself. So I was always very hesitant to go down that path. But then after starting training with Brendan and changing life around, I decided to start studying. So I did Cert 4 in community services, and then quit security, moved into, I should say, with a plan that I was going to do my PT course and open a gym. So, well, probably work for Brendan was the plan to start with, but the plan was to go into aged care, youth work, disability, mental health, to get, I guess, sort of a little bit of market research to see where I could get some clients from. So I did that pretty much for the duration of the time that I studied, and then probably 2 years on after that, mate. 2 years.
It's probably about 2 years.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
Which I was able to make some really good connections with. The company that I work for gave me my first 2 clients, and they stayed with me for a couple of years. Actually, the first 2 clients was out of the old facility, your old one, the studio.
Yeah, it was out of the studio. Yeah, that would have been early days.
Yeah, that would have been mid to 2019.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we moved down to Nick's gym. The C word happened. But I suppose more to why I started Strength Community was that there was, working in disability, I could see the need, and I knew the need, and I guess you know the need, of the importance of physical training for mental health, because realistically it holds the wheels on for most people.
Yeah.
And if when you're dealing with people that have acute mental health, or now more disabilities that I work with, so much more than mental health per se, everyone has mental health things.
Yes.
There was only one place that was registered with the NDIS as a gym. So I just seen, you could say I've seen the gap in the market, but I also seen how important it was for a space like that to exist.
Yeah, 100%. And if you don't mind me backtracking as well, I don't think, we spoke about, obviously most of it's going to be our members, our community that are going to be listening, but I don't know if everybody will realise that with your journey as well, how extensive that's been as well. So, there was a point where you ticked over 85 kilos of weight loss as well. I don't think
it was close to 100.
Was it close to 100 at one point? Really?
Yeah.
How low did you get?
Because I got down to 115,
yeah, right.
so it would have been about 95.
Yeah, right.
So I think the heaviest I ever seen myself on the scale was 210.
Yeah.
So 115, 114. Because there's that picture of training where you're sitting at about 105 or something like that.
Yeah.
And there's only 10 kilos between us.
Yeah. Was that when you were squatting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a skinny bitch.
I remember that now. That was when you were like, oh, I got no ass.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And was that was kind of cohesive with when we went to Bali, wasn't it? Was that probably your leanest?
Just after.
Yeah.
So we come back. When did we go? November?
Yeah, I ran about. So
yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's ages.
And then I got down to 115 bit after that. But I started to feel sick.
Yeah. Because anyone that knows him knows that he is a fridge. He's shaped like a fridge. He has a very, very solid frame. You can probably see that if you're watching the video. I'm standing above Moose, but he has a very thick frame. And I think if you see a Moose under 100 kilos, I think
he's probably not well.
He's probably not well. He's probably been missing a couple of meals. Times might be tough. But yeah, so 210 down to 115. And then, as part of that, I really think that too, you do have good control of your health and fitness. You back up quite a lot, but powerlifting, your muscle gain would be off the charts.
And that was it's one thing that I'm comfortable to say. Like, I am, still overweight as it is, but I choose. It's a choice now.
Yeah.
I'm in control of the wheels.
Yeah. It's a lifestyle choice for you now to be. I don't know what title you put on yourself. This is a title that I was probably going to segue into now, but probably close to elite powerlifting. Does that be fair to say?
Yeah, total wise, definitely. Per what the numbers say, I'm an elite powerlifter.
There you go. So you put that title on there now. So he's top 1%, top pretty high percentage in the world.
Yeah, it's up there. There's 905 total. There's probably only a few thousand in the world that can squat, strength wise, that can do that.
Yeah.
So it is in the it's in the high percentile.
Yeah. So there you go.
Or is it low percentile?
I don't know. We're not here as academics, put it that way. So I think that is like a journey that we're going to go into in more details in episodes to come, like our own specific story. So my own specific story of where I come from, being a bit of an overweight youngster, spiraling into an eating disorder, being avidly lean, and then just trying to work my way out of that. But I think we'll save that for another story. But I think where we're going to segue in today is energy flows where the focus goes. Because recently, and you were the inspiration for this topic for me to bring this up, is because I've been in it for a while where I think running a business, being a coach is very straining on your energy.
Oh, 100%.
And constantly, day to day, we're pouring out of our own cups to give to others. And I think as then you add a business element to it, and then anybody that's owned a business will know the volatility, the ups and downs, and just the strain that it has on yourself personally, your mental health, and then physical health. I think that we're both starting to realise now how much it affects that as well.
Yeah, because you're always at a point of you could be doing really well, but you're one moment away from not.
Yeah.
It's a very, very fine balance of what you could call success and not so good.
Yeah, 100%. There's never too much between that, and I think the last few years have really showed that for us. And I think the thing that highlighted me to bring up this topic is when you said that you were going to start our 8-week Cut the Fluff challenge, and I was like, oh, awesome, that's great. I'd be keen to have you on board. But then I was like, hang on, what are you doing with your prep for your powerlifting comp? So I would love for you to share how competing at that high level and what those heavy weights were doing to your body, but then still having to back it up in business, and how you're experiencing that.
Yeah, it's very, like, the heavy weights are super draining. Like, it's not like, you come to the gym and you do your 10 reps and your legs get sore, or your chest gets sore or something like that. Your body's just tired. It is just draining. Like, and as I explained to you, like, you've got your 2 cups trying to give 100% to, it doesn't work. One's got energy's got to come from somewhere. And for me, it was draining from the business side. And the stress that it puts on your body it's weird. It affects your sleep. It affects your mood. Like, you're just tired. Like, even last week, I said to Alicia, I said, this is great. It's Saturday, and I'm not fucking exhausted.
Yeah. But you would have probably did more training, or maybe not more training, but more volume, would you say?
Volume in a different way.
Yes. Yeah, drastically different way. 100%.
Yeah, where I'm not putting these heavy things on my back or pressing these heavy things for low reps. Doing lighter weights, higher volume, but also doing some cardio, moving a bit more. Yeah, getting the heart rate up and all that sort of stuff. And I think for context too, because I will stand by comparison as a thief of joy, but for context for people watching and listening, Moose is squatting well above 300. 352.
352, there you go. 352, benching up over the 200 mark, a deadlift. What was the deadlift up to?
350.
Yeah, it's 350. So there's obviously some massive numbers, guys. I think it's hard to comprehend how big they are, and that's just to get an understanding of what they do to the central nervous system. Yeah, and it's different. Like, what my 1RM feels like to your 1RM is exactly the same. But the effect that it has on the body is slightly different. Like, there becomes call it I don't know what sort of effect you call it, but there's, up here is just higher than down here, and it's just got a different effect on the body. Yeah, exactly. You're still human. Because still squatting double. The adaptation. It's just the adaptation that it's taken me to get to there. It's just different. There's different levels of adaptation, I guess, but you still have the same central nervous system. Yeah, that's right. Else. Like, yes, the central nervous system adapts. And I guess to add to why I probably am so fatigued is that usually I compete once a year, but over the past, 2020 I competed in February. Week later was COVID. But I obviously still had access to a gym, so I continued to prep for state titles in hope that when lockdown was over, because originally the lockdown was only going to be, 2 weeks? Flatten the curve. And then it was like 13 weeks later. So I completed that prep. Then another comp come up at the end of the year. Started to get ready for that. COVID again. Something happened. Something happened. And anyway, so since 2020, I've just been in a constant prep state. I've really not allowed my body to have any rest. It's something that has clearly affected me. Yeah, and then I think with the tipping point of how much your business has grown would that be last 6 months? It's probably been a big last 6 months. You've got staff now. Yeah, come back from
The thing I was spewing most about that last lockdown is I had 4 new starters the week of lockdown, and none of them come back.
It's always the way.
But yeah, grown quite significantly. 2 staff on now.
Yeah. And so I think, would you agree that with the business growing, the responsibilities are growing, your billable hours are significantly higher.
Yeah.
Plus now starting to know what it looks like to manage staff.
Well, I understand a lot more what I do when I see you sitting there on the computer all the time.
Yeah. When you try and chat my ear up and I don't want to talk about you might have things to do. So yeah, you're starting to get that broader understanding of business.
Yeah.
And sort of going from just...
Well, it's turned in from something like I've said to you before, where when I started, I turned it into a job.
Yeah.
This was my job.
Yeah.
It's not my job anymore. It's my business. It's 2 different things. I just can't walk out the door and clock off, sort of thing. Like, stuff has to be done. It's got to be done. Like.
Yeah, and no one else is going to do it.
Yeah.
And then I think where that all ties in is that, you've done a 2-hour powerlifting session and you've gone through big squats, deadlifts, whatever it may be, and then after it, you don't want to do the emails. You don't want to do the invoicing. You don't want to write the awesome programs.
There was things that I was putting off that literally take me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And they'd be like,
fruit.
It'd be like, I just don't have the energy for it today.
Yeah.
Or the will.
You know it's bad when you're at the point of energy and you don't want to take off the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but like to sit down and to create something, like to create an ebook or like to create a whole new program for your clients, like something that takes a good bit of brain power to sit there 1 or 2 hours, like that's always hard. And I think it will always be hard. And if it's not hard, you're probably not trying hard enough.
Oh, I had to write something yesterday and it was 2 paragraphs and it took me an hour and a half.
yeah, but that's something of high value.
Yeah.
But then versus, just getting on Zero and doing a couple of invoices. You don't have to really think. But if you get to the point where that is hard, you're like, that's where it's a reality check. And it's like, that's where it comes back to. The energy flows where the focus goes. And if your energy just all went into that session, that's, all the focus goes in that session. That's where the energy's gone as well. And there's going to be none left for the rest of it. Yeah. And I think that's, I'd already been through a lot of that myself, I think. Like, I haven't competed at anything at a higher level, but a lot of trying to, really maintain a good physique. Like, there was points where I was powerlifting. There was even a point just before COVID where we were going to do a strongman comp. Like a hybrid strongman comp.
The fitness strongman comp.
Oh, and if that went ahead, we would have shredded that. Like, I don't know if Jacob and Nathan will listen to this, but I was in the best shape of my life.
I think they've got a similar one coming up soon.
Really? Oh, that might be something to look at. But we were doing 22,000 kilo sessions of volume. Like, I was fit, I was strong.
We had that, what was it, the 50 cals? We had that down to about 40 seconds or something, didn't we?
It wasn't much. We were doing 25 cals with a quick change each, so it was not taking long at all. But that's also a different time in business for me. Like, I didn't have any staff at that point in time. I just stepped back to contracting. I was just focusing on myself and my clients. I didn't have to worry about anything else. But now with a team of 5, plus I count myself, so I should say 6 because I'm the hardest of all to manage. There's a whole lot more responsibility. Like, I don't get to train for an hour, go to the beach, walk the dog, and do all those sort of things.
They were the days.
They were the days. We'll bring them back soon, I hope. You just don't have them. You don't have the energy to do all of that. You can't train like that hard with that much volume and then still expect to have great energy through the afternoons. Yeah. Stay at a high level for clients and do all that sort of things. And I think the way that again segues in for listeners is that the same thing happens in life. Like, if you're working 10 hours a day or you're overstressed from work and you're not actually able to put focus into family or put it into your own health, it's unlikely it's going to change.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing as nutrition too.
Yeah.
Like, if you're just not prepping, you're not putting the time to it, and then you just get into lunchtime and you're starving, you're dehydrated, you're stressed, unlikely you're going to make a healthy food choice.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you feel that's affected you in that sort of time period with the nutritional choices, because I saw that you were still really good with your prep of food.
I've maintained that pretty well. It's just a lot. I wonder how my digestive system feels now that the calories are down again.
Yeah, lots of food. Yeah. How many calories are you down, do you reckon?
How many am I down to now?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sitting at 3,000 now.
Yeah.
The goal, like I said, the goal for me is just to hit protein. Last week I banked a couple of extra calories through the week. for a couple of beers watching the fights.
Yeah.
That worked. I'm down weight this week, so happy days.
Yeah, so this morning the pants were a little looser.
Yeah, well, I couldn't squat in these
fronts.
pants 3 weeks ago. Legs didn't really fit into them, so...
There you go. And for context with that, guys, so at the moment we're doing an 8-week challenge under FFF. It's called Cut the Fluff, so it's all about habit cultivation, which I think is a really cool concept. The last challenge that we did was very much so we did fitness testing and we did body composition testing, and then we smashed it out for 8 weeks. We got some phenomenal results, and we retested strength and body composition after it.
I was thinking about that this morning, actually, because I think the habits part's really important. It's more important than the body composition, because you can smash out 8 weeks. Most people can hold on, especially if they like the gym. You can hold on for 8 weeks, but as soon as that challenge is over, it's like, time to let go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then 8 weeks later, you're back and you're like, fuck, all that hard work I've done's gone. Like, now I've got to do it again. It's like starting from zero again.
Yes. Yeah, and I noticed that in myself. So I will admit that part of this challenge is selfish of what I see in myself and my own needs with my disordered background. And what I saw with some of our members is that no one really dropped off badly, but there was no longer this linear line of results. Like the results sort of dwindled away. And so they were almost like there was like 12, 16 or even 20 weeks worth of results just crammed into 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And then it was just sort of maintained. And I don't think that's the best approach. So I think that's where this 8-week habit cultivation challenges come from, is it's like, okay, well, let's set in stone these really, really healthy habits, cement them, because it takes 28 days to actually start to build a habit and create like psychology around it and autonomy around it. So if it's going to take 28 days for that, then by the time we're at 8 weeks, what's that, 56 days or something like that? I think
Don't ask me for maths, mate. I need plates and bars.
That's the way I can. Something it's close to 56 days. I'm sure someone will comment and say I'm wrong. We've got then 56 days. By the time you've done 28 days, gone through to the 56, you've really set some long-term habits up. And if you've set habits that your values and your identity, they align with, they're true to you, that they're not just made up. Like, it's not just that your coach said, oh, this is good. Because if you don't actually understand or give a fuck about 3 litres of water a day, you don't really truly align with it. Like, yes, you need 3 litres of water, it's good for you. I could go through a long list of benefits on that. We could probably do a podcast on hydration, really. But if you don't actually truly align with it, you don't care.
Yeah.
So you're not going to truly align with it, and then you're not going to have positive associations. So you're not going to have it. So if they're good values, good habits that align with your values, I should say, then 8 weeks from there, you should have a good byproduct of results. And if you have set habits in line with body composition, and you've set up, I'm going to do my steps, I'm going to track my nutrition or whatever it may be, I'm going to hit my protein targets, anything in that body composition realm, I'm going to weight train 5 days a week, conditioning, whatever. Then if you're continuing doing those, you're going to end up with the results anyway.
Yeah.
And they may not be as fast, or they may not be as glorious as what they would be from the other style of challenge. But I think they're the ones that are going to set you up for much longer to come. Much like the ones that you've created over the last 7 years. Yeah.
Especially coming like after you've done the strength challenge. That was awesome too. I love seeing everyone in there hitting PRs.
Yeah, that was quite the buzz.
Yeah, it's a good block to come into after that.
Yes.
Because, like I said, where that correlates with, I'd had all this heavy lifting, then I needed some lighter stuff to let the body rest and adapt.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. That just comes back to the periodization, doesn't it? Of actually giving yourself the correct rest. Because even though you mentioned earlier in the podcast that you'd been in a constant prep state a lot, you still weren't maxing out every couple of weeks.
No.
By no means.
No.
You'd still definitely drop back, taper.
Yeah.
Right back, do some
ups and downs. Ups and downs.
Yeah.
But a long stage, what you would say, what is it, GDP, general prepared readiness. It was always high.
Yes.
So I could come in and squat big numbers any day, whereas traditionally you've had that rest. And that's what I think a lot of people forget, is that you're only at your strongest realistically twice a year, programmed well.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
100%.
you're not the strongest every day.
No. Yeah, a true 1RM. I think if you talk about it on the in the strength and conditioning world, and you look at it, the highest level of coaching and programming would be the Olympics. And I think if you look at all the fancy words, macro, meso, cycles, and all that
pisses me off. It
all
really
that
does.
Sort of stuff. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a wank. But if you do actually look at it from the science side of things, you can only properly peak once, if you're lucky, twice a year.
Yeah, 100%.
Science.
Yeah,
that's science backed.
Yeah, you just don't. People think it's this linear thing. Like, all right, I squatted 200 kilos. That's the new bar. You know, I'm going to walk in there and squat that. I can squat that every day now.
You?
No, we're not 15. That's not how it works.
No, open up. Perfect open up recovery every day. Yeah. Just come in and absolutely smash it. Yes. Where shall we segue from here?
Well, we had a couple of the questions that I thought was pretty good.
Oh, yeah. We might I'll pause here.
I think it was... Hey, right, keep going.
We'll keep it rolling. You can always cut.
Now, I thought this one was excellent.
So these are questions from
the FF group,
and forward page.
This is from the Montage Fitness himself. Oh, sorry, fucking excuse me. Montage Weightlifting.
Or Barbell Club.
Oh, disgusting. I'm sorry, Brent. I apologise. I do. Brent said, "What's the biggest training mistake you've ever made?"
Ooh, you want me to start?
Go for it.
Biggest training mistake I've ever made. There's probably heaps, I think.
There is. There's always heaps.
There's always heaps. I think in my early days would be probably the best time. I think the training mistakes, I wouldn't call so much training mistakes lately in the past 12 to 18 months, because it's been very much fitting it into my lifestyle, finding what I enjoy, what I'm still passionate about, what keeps the fire burning. So I think it's a lot more experimental. I'm not going to be angry at myself for lack of results in that sort of term. But I think in the early days, I think it was chopping and changing programs. I think it'd be not sticking to something for 4 8 week blocks they were doing if I was focusing on strength or hypertrophy at that point in time. Yeah. And I'd chop and change. And I think if I'd be like, all right, I'm doing hypertrophy, and then I'd just get the little itch to do some strength training. Yeah. Or the vice versa, do some strength training and then, be ready to peak for a powerlifting program, because I used to dabble in that a little bit. And then, just do a bit of hypertrophy training or something like that, and then kind of ruin my recovery and not assist in those goals. And if I really still stuck to a training program, a strength training program for 8 weeks, then I transitioned to a hypertrophy program. Yeah. In reality, you'd agree with this, is that I would build myself a higher base to do more volume, because I could have more strength to do more reps. Yeah. And have more volume, which would then correlate to more muscle. Making the tank bigger. Exactly right. So I think that's my biggest mistake. You could probably go into that a little bit more specific, but as a bearing, I think it was chopping and changing programs. Yeah, and the idea of I find it funny, like bodybuilding style training, which they'll say hypertrophy. Like powerlifting, there's a lot of hypertrophy, and the correlations between muscle gain from strength training and hypertrophy training pretty close. Pretty close. Yeah. The only difference is, for a bodybuilder, you eat like a bodybuilder. Yeah. And you're isolating very particular muscles in certain ways and contracting them to make them grow, compared to strength training where you're trying to get strong. You're trying to use all the muscles that you can in a particular movement to lift the most weight. Yeah. They fall from the same tree, but they're very different. Yeah, I think the best example there is, I've said it to young blokes coming up through our gym, the ranks, and they've got muscle gain goals, but they're avoiding the heavy squats or the heavy deadlifts or things like that, and they're worried about those. And I say to them, do you ever see someone that can squat 200 kilos, 180 kilos, whatever is feasible in that sort of realm, with great form, really low, to a good quality, that doesn't have solid sized legs, or even I think even upper body hypertrophy as well. Yeah. If they're focused on strength. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they come hand in hand. Yeah. And you don't get just absolutely massively pumped up muscles without some sort of strength. Like, yes, obviously you're the testament to, if you focus on strength specifically, strength will be favoured.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
For sure. What's your biggest training mistake?
Trying to do two things at the same time that don't match up. So trying to get really strong and lose weight, they don't work.
Yeah.
You're just burn the candle at both ends. You make no results. And when I say you make no results, you build a good base, and there's a lot of base that's built in that time, whether it's even in like a weight loss phase or anything like that. But you can't. Anyone that can, and if they know how to, would be a fucking millionaire.
Yeah, so I'll buy that program.
Yeah.
Or that's something
Yeah.
that's healthy.
Yeah, so pick one.
Mm.
Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to get strong? Do you want to get big? Like, you can't lose weight and get big.
Yeah.
Because you've got to be in a calorie deficit. Like, to put muscle on, you need to be in a calorie surplus. It's not, it's not as hard as people think.
No, it's
The
much
process
simpler.
is very simple.
Yes.
The execution's the hard part.
Yeah, and the sticking to true to your goals,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah. Because what I was going to say there is, over the years I've spent a while in a deficit, I should say. I'm due for one right now, so don't judge.
Same.
But I do really agree that once you get past that newbie stage of training, once you're in a true deficit and you are burning body fat, your goal is to maintain.
Yeah.
It really has to be that,
Yeah.
and that's the expectation. You
Hold
have
on to as much muscle as you can while you burn fat.
Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
right. Exactly right. It's just that comes back to a little bit more of a bodybuilding style of cutting and shredding, but the reality is that fits into the general population's goals as well, because you've enjoyed getting stronger in the gym, you're lifting more, you hit your PBs, you feel awesome,
Yeah.
you feel empowered that you're stronger. But alright, I'm still want to lose 5-10 kilos, look a bit leaner on the beach, or whatever your goal may be, fit into that dress, feel a bit sexier, whatever that is, you're still going to have to go into a deficit.
Yeah.
And if you've been training for a while now, you're not going to be getting incredible muscle gain results during that phase.
No.
That's just the reality of it.
No.
That's a good one. I like that, Lewis.
Yeah. Well done, Brent.
Well done, Brent.
Great question.
What else we got?
All right. What's your favourite type of exercise out of the gym and why? I'll kick off here. Just a good old-fashioned walk, or a trundle, as I like to call it.
Oh, trundle.
Whether it's... Personally, I like the water, which is good. I like being around the water. Nothing wrong with the bush. Don't mind the bush either. Why? I like it, that's why.
I think that one for me, I'd have to be the same, because I think with self-care perspective and mental health being a big priority to us, is that I think we get caught up in the four walls of the gym a lot. So to get outside in nature, to go out for a walk with Willow, I think is something of a high value to me as well. I think it's probably the most enjoyable thing. I am dabbling with some running at the moment. I'll definitely say it's not my favourite.
Yeah, fuck that. You can keep that.
It's definitely not a favourite, but it's still outside, and I do enjoy that element. So yeah, I agree. Walking outside in nature, beautiful, beautiful.
That one was from Ash. Thank you, Ash.
Thank you, Ashley.
I don't know, mate. I think that might be a good one there.
I think that might be a good one. I don't know how long we've gone for, but it's been a little while.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to thank you guys for listening.
I got one little rant first.
Oh, give us a rant. This would be really nice.
Is this looking down the eye of the camera?
Yeah, we can zoom in.
All right. Powerlifters on Instagram, put your fucking weights down of what you've done. I don't want to guess. I don't want to have to message you and ask you how much you just deadlifted. Fucking tell us. That's it. That's my rant.
We'll cut that one into a reel. And send that to Moose for his personal Instagram. But guys, thank you so much for listening. Whether you're watching YouTube, Spotify, wherever you see it, whether we've cut any of this into a reel, share it with your friends. Give us feedback about what you think. It's obviously only our first one, as I'm sure you could probably tell with the very loose structure. But as we build up our confidence and our delivery, we'd love to keep building our audience. And do you have any passing words?
No. Buy our stuff.
Buy our stuff. Excellent.
The Moose.
Very upfront. But yeah, guys, we'll have our websites and our social medias linked so you can check us out. Moose's business, Strength Community, is supporting NDIS and his apparel stuff. And Forever Forward Fitness, we were doing personal training, group training, nutritional support, mindset, all that sort of jazz. We've got a bit of apparel, we do some retreats, but we won't plug ourselves too much on the first one.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Yoo-hoo!
What up?